Elias Rourke stood at the edge of the wide, silent lake, watching small ripples move across the surface like they were carrying messages he could not yet read. The sun was low, turning the water into a sheet of orange glass. The world felt peaceful, almost too peaceful for the kind of strange problem he had been asked to investigate. But that was how things usually worked. Big mysteries, often hid inside calm scenes. Dr. Mara Vance, the colony's chief xenobiologist, stood a few steps behind him. She held a scanner close to her chest, her brow tight with worry. Mara was not someone who normally looked worried. She was famous on the colony for being calm even when everything went wrong. But today was different. "This place feels strange," she said in a quiet voice. Elias nodded. The readings from last night were strong, stronger than anything the colony sensors ever caught before. He crouched beside a cluster of silver reeds growing near the water. They hummed faintly when he touched them. Not a normal hum, it was organized, like a tiny sequence of tones repeating again and again. Pulses. Signals. Mara stepped closer and checked her scanner again. The device let out a soft chirp. "It's repeating the same electromagnetic pattern," she said. "That's the 4th time in 20 minutes. Elias frowned. "It's not natural." "I know." She said it without hesitation. That alone told Elias the situation was serious. Mara always tried to consider every explanation before she allowed herself to say anything with certainty. But today she knew something was wrong. They had come alone because Governor Hale Vance, Mara's husband, didn't want to send a large team. He believed too many people near the lake could make the phenomenon worse. Elias wasn't sure if that was true or just another idea the governor had formed out of stress. Leadership came with pressure, and Hale had carried a heavy weight ever since the colony began having problems with power fluctuations and strange static-like interference around the wetlands. Many people thought the issues were simple weather disruptions, but Elias disagreed from the first day. Something deeper was happening. Something beneath them. Mara walked to the very edge of the water. The lake stretched for kilometers in every direction, a soft mirror reflecting the pale blue sky. She breathed in slowly. "When I was a child on Earth," she said, "my mother used to bring me to a lake that looked a little like this. But it never felt heavy like this one does." "Heavy?" Elias asked. "Yes. Like the air knows something I don't." Elias stood beside her. She wasn't wrong. Something about this place was pressing on his skin, like a quiet whisper against his thoughts. Not dangerous, but expectant. Mara crouched to sample the water. As she leaned forward, the ground under her right foot shifted. A soft cracking sound followed, then the dirt broke apart. "Mara!" She slipped toward the lake with a small gasp. Elias reacted without thinking. He grabbed her wrist firmly and pulled her back onto solid ground. Mara stumbled into him, her shoulder hitting his chest before she caught her breath. For a moment they stood still, both surprised by how sudden it happened. Then Mara pulled away slightly, her voice soft but urgent. "Don't tell him you held me." Elias blinked. "The governor?" She lowered her eyes. "Yes. He's been very anxious lately. About the pulses. About the idea that physical contact near the lake might trigger reactions from whatever is below. He's worried. Not angry. But he would not take this well." Elias nodded slowly. He understood. The governor was not jealous or controlling. He was scared of anything that could influence the colony in unknown ways. And Mara didn't want to add more fear to his mind. "You almost fell," Elias said gently. "I know," she whispered. "But please, just keep it between us." "All right." She gave a small, grateful smile and stepped back. For a moment, the lake was silent again. Then the scanner in her hand began to beep rapidly. Elias looked at his own wrist device. "Pulse spike?" "Yes. Very strong. Stronger than last night." The ground near the waterline trembled lightly. like something deep below was moving. Not in a violent way, more like a slow awakening. Mara took a few steps away from the cracked soil. Elias activated his wider-range sensors. The pulses were coming in waves now, each one a little stronger. Each one aimed toward the same point under the lake. "It's like it's trying to send a message," he said. Mara's eyes widened. "Or trying to respond to something." Elias walked a few meters along the shoreline, checking the patterns. The pulses weren't random. They formed a sequence, a consistent chain of numbers that looked almost like coordinates. They pointed toward the center of the lake. He stopped walking. "Mara," he said quietly, "come look at this." She came beside him, leaning close to read the data. "These aren't natural waveforms," she whispered. "They're engineered, designed." "Exactly." Mara looked out at the vast water. "So something down there is man-made. Or human-made," Elias corrected softly. Mara turned her head. "You think it's old, Terran? Something from the first exploration era?" "It fits the signature," Elias said. "The colony records say no human structures were ever placed here. But the old exploration fleets? They traveled everywhere. It's possible one of their machines ended up under this lake. Thanks for watching." "The next one. Thanks for watching." Mara wrapped her arms around herself. Not from cold, but from a feeling she could not name. "If that's true," she said, "why is it waking up now?" Elias didn't answer. He didn't have an answer. The air shimmered above the lake for a moment, a faint distortion like heat waves rising from hot ground. But the day wasn't hot, and the shimmer moved in rhythmic patterns, aligning with the pulses. "That's new," Mara said. "I've never seen anything like that." Elias measured the distortion with his device. "The pulses are pushing against the atmosphere, almost like they're testing how thin or thick it is." Mara laughed lightly, though the sound carried nervousness. "Testing the air? Why would a machine care about the air?" "Maybe it needs to breathe," Elias said, half joking. Mara didn't smile. "What if it's trying to see if humans are here?" she asked. Elias looked out across the quiet water. The shimmer repeated again. Stronger this time. "That would match the pattern," he said. "It reacts when we get close. Maybe it sensed you when you fell." Mara swallowed, suddenly remembering the moment Elias grabbed her. The pulse right after had been the strongest one yet. Elias continued. "We need to tell the governor. But not everything yet. We need a clearer picture first." Mara shook her head. "Hale will send soldiers. He'll think this is a threat. And it might not be," Elias said calmly. "We don't know enough." Mara took a deep breath. "We should gather more data before reporting," he agreed. They stayed at the lake for another hour, moving around the shoreline and recording every pulse, every shimmer, every shift in the ground. Nothing dangerous happened, but the air continued to hum with energy. The more they observed, the more obvious it became. The pulses were intentional, not wild, not chaotic, intelligent. As the sun reached the horizon, the lake glowed a soft purple under the changing sky. Elias stood still, staring at the center of the water. "It feels like it's listening," he said. Mara came beside him, her voice gentle. "To what?" "To us," Elias answered. "To humans." A final pulse spread across the lake as if agreeing. Mara shivered again. Not from fear, but from awe. The world had suddenly become much larger than she realized. Elias packed the equipment. "Tomorrow we'll bring a sub-sensor and a topographic mapper. If there's something down there, we'll find it." Mara nodded. "And until then? We keep this between us," Elias said. She smiled again, tired, grateful, and slightly nervous. "Yes. At least until we understand what's really happening." As they walked back toward their small transport vehicle, Elias turned one last time to look at the lake. For a brief second, the water's surface formed a perfect circle of light, like an eye opening beneath the depths. Then it faded. The air grew still, and the secret beneath the lake remained quiet once more, waiting. The next morning came with a quiet gray sky stretched across the colony. Elias Rourke walked quickly across the research platform, holding a case full of new scanning tools. He hadn't slept long, but his mind felt bright, almost restless. The patterns from the lake kept repeating in his memory, like music he didn't fully understand yet. Something important was beneath that water, sending messages into the world, and he couldn't stop thinking about it. Dr. Mara Vance was already waiting beside the small transport vehicle, her hair tied back, her expression focused. She looked like she had barely slept too, but her eyes held the same spark of curiosity Elias felt. "You ready?" she asked. "More than ready," Elias replied. They loaded the new equipment and set off toward the lake. The road was quiet, lined with silver-blue shrubs that swayed gently in the early breeze. The colony buildings faded behind them as they approached the wetlands. Even from a distance, Elias could tell the air felt different. Today, warmer, alive, almost humming. When they reached the lake, the surface looked completely calm, as if nothing unusual had ever happened there. No shimmer, no dancing pulses, no signs of the strange behavior from yesterday. Just quiet water and a soft wind. But Elias knew better. "Let's begin with a full-spectrum sweep," he said. Mara nodded and took out the topographic mapper. It activated with a soft glow, projecting long lines of data toward the lake. Elias set up the subsensor, a small sphere that floated on the surface and scanned everything beneath it. For the first few minutes, nothing unusual appeared. It made Elias uneasy. Yesterday, the pulses came in strong waves. Today, it was almost too silent. Mara checked her scanner again. "No electromagnetic spikes so far." "That's strange," Elias said. "Something that big shouldn't go silent this quickly." Mara looked up. "Unless it's waiting." The idea made the air feel colder. They kept scanning. Slowly, the data formed a full map of the underwater terrain. Elias watched the shapes appear on his screen rocks. Plant clusters, old sediment layers, all normal, until something new appeared. A flat geometric shape, artificial edges, straight lines where nature could never make them. Mara gasped softly. "Elias, is that what I think it is?" He zoomed in. The outline became clearer. A 3-layered structure, buried under mud and stone, shaped perfectly like a long rectangle. "It's a machine," Elias said quietly. "A large one, maybe a whole facility." Mara placed a hand lightly over her mouth. "How old?" Elias examined the material signature. It was the same alloy used by early Terran exploration fleets, a mixture of titanium composites and rare earth elements that modern colonies didn't use anymore. "Hundreds of years," Elias said. "Maybe more." Mara looked out at the lake with wonder. So, the pulses weren't natural at all. They were coming from this. Exactly. The subsensor beeped again. It detected movement slow, rhythmic pulses from deep within the structure. Not chaotic. Regular. Almost like breathing. "It's not asleep anymore," Elias whispered. "It's active." Mara stepped closer. "You think it's dangerous?" "I don't know," Elias said honestly, "but so far it hasn't tried to harm anything." Mara let out a slow breath. "Hale will not like this." Elias frowned slightly. "The governor doesn't even know this exists. If we tell him too early, he'll send troops with heavy scanners. That might scare the machine, or trigger some kind of defense system." Mara looked conflicted. "I know he worries too much. But hiding this from him, I don't want to betray his trust. See, lest from him for Martin to send. Lest from him for Martin to send." "You're not betraying him," Elias said gently. You're protecting him. And the colony. She looked down. Maybe. The wind shifted, brushing across the lake. Slowly, a shimmer appeared on the surface again, faint and delicate. It spread outward from a single point, near the center. It's responding to our scans, Elias said. Look at the wave pattern. It matches the mapper frequency. Mara adjusted her scanner. It's trying to show us something. A light glow appeared beneath the surface, a soft blue that pulsed in time with the electromagnetic waves. It wasn't bright. It was calm, peaceful, steady. But the meaning was clear. It's signaling back, Elias whispered. It understands we're here. Mara stepped back in awe. This is incredible. The glowing pulse faded slowly, but the water continued to shimmer like it was made of liquid light. Elias checked the map again. The rectangular structure under the lake had shifted slightly, just a few centimeters. But something that big shouldn't move at all. It moved, he said. Only a little, but enough to show it's not a static ruin. Mara's eyes widened. It's alive? Not alive, Elias said. Active, functional, a machine with purpose. He felt the hairs on his arms stand up. Humanity had long believed that many early exploration technologies were lost forever. To find one here, buried under a quiet lake on a distant colony world, it meant something big. Mara slowly sat on a rock near the shore. What do you think it wants? Maybe nothing, Elias said. Maybe it's just waking up because we're here. Or because something is changing in the environment. Mara looked thoughtful. Or maybe it has been waiting for humans to return. The idea felt too large, too important, but also strangely right. Suddenly, Elias's wrist scanner chimed. A strong pulse came from the machine. But this one didn't just hit the water, it reached the sky. High above, the clouds shifted, opening into a circular pattern. A faint, holographic shape formed a blurred structure, like a tower or a beacon, rising out of the lake's center. Mara stood up quickly. A hologram. It's projecting something. The structure spun slowly in the air, made of soft blue light. It wasn't detailed, but Elias recognized the shape. That's a Terran beacon, he said in shock. Old exploration fleets used them as navigation and communication stations. They guided deep space missions. But why is it here? Mara asked. We don't know yet, Elias replied. But this changes everything. The holographic beacon flickered and vanished. The clouds closed again, leaving only the quiet sky. Elias stared at the lake for a long time. This machine has information. Maybe a whole map of the old fleets. Routes we never knew. Technology we lost. Mara nodded slowly. We need to understand this before anyone else sees it. She didn't say the governor's name, but both of them thought it. Elias hesitated. Mara, I know you care about Hale. I respect that. But if he sends soldiers, the machine might shut down or lock itself. Maybe, permanently. Mara's shoulders lowered. You're right. He cares too much, and sometimes that means he acts too quickly. He wants to protect the colony, Elias said. But sometimes protection and fear look the same. Mara looked out at the water, thoughtful and conflicted. So we keep studying this quietly. For now. Yes, Elias said. At least until we know what the machine is and what it wants. A soft pulse rolled across the lake again, gentle as a heartbeat. Not threatening. More like a greeting. Mara stepped closer, her voice soft. Elias smiled slightly. Almost human. They spent the next hour recording every detail, every vibration, every flicker of light. The machine didn't activate again, but the pulses stayed steady, like it wanted them to know it wasn't gone. After a while, the sky grew darker. A storm was moving in from the west. Thick clouds rolling toward the lake. We should head back, Mara said, before the storm traps us here. Elias agreed. They packed up the equipment and walked to the transport. But before getting in, Elias turned one last time to look at the center of the lake. The water glowed with a faint circle of light, the same shape as last night, like an eye watching them, recognizing them, waiting for them to return. "We're coming back tomorrow," Elias said quietly. Mara nodded. They got inside the vehicle and drove away as the first drops of rain began to fall. Behind them, the lake remained calm, but beneath that calm surface, the ancient machine waited silent but aware. And far below, deep in the hidden chamber of metal and forgotten history, something shifted again, as if preparing, as if listening, as if remembering humanity. The storm lasted all night. Rain hammered on the colony roofs, and lightning rolled across the sky in long, slow flashes. Elias Rourke barely slept. He lay awake, listening to the weather, wondering if the lake machine felt the storm the way humans did. Machines did not worry about thunder, but this one seemed different. It reacted to the world. It listened. Maybe it even thought. By sunrise, the storm had passed. Pale sunlight washed over the colony, leaving everything bright and clean. Elias reached the research center early and checked the overnight readings. The sensors placed around the wetlands had recorded small pulses through the entire storm, gentle, steady vibrations, like the machine was humming to itself in the dark. Dr. Mara Vance arrived a few minutes later, carrying a thermos of hot tea. She looked tired, but determined. "Morning," she said softly. "Morning," Elias replied. "Ready?" Mara nodded. "More than ready. Let's find out what that machine really is." They packed new equipment. A deep-range resonance scanner, a communication module, and 2 protective suits for underwater exploration. Not because they expected danger, but because anything old and unknown deserved careful respect. When they reached the lake, the air felt warm and calm. The water reflected the morning sky perfectly, like a huge mirror. For a moment, it was easy to forget that something ancient and powerful slept underneath. Elias stepped to the shoreline. "Let's start with a resonance scan. Maybe we can find an entrance." Mara set the module down carefully and activated it. Soft waves of sound traveled into the water, invisible but strong. The scanner beeped and began building a map not just of the outer shape they saw yesterday, but of the internal structure. Mara leaned close to the screen. "There are hallways," she whispered. "And chambers. This isn't just a machine. It's a whole underground building." Elias frowned thoughtfully. "A facility." "Yes. A Terran-built facility," Mara said. "Buried and forgotten." The lines on the screen grew clearer. Large rooms, long corridors, broken sections, and at the very center, a spherical chamber with thick walls. "The core," Elias murmured. "That's where the pulses are coming from." Mara traced the lines with her finger. "If we want answers, we need to get inside that chamber." Elias crouched beside the scanner. "There's an access tunnel here." He pointed to a narrow shaft, leading upward toward the lake bed. "If we follow that angle, we might reach it." Mara took a slow breath. "Do you think it's safe?" "I think it's stable enough," Elias said. "And if it wanted to harm us, it had 100 chances already." Mara smiled a little. "Fair point." They put on the suits lightweight, flexible, with built-in light sources and communications. Elias placed the subsensor into the water again, sending a final scan. The machine responded with a gentle pulse, almost like a welcome. Elias secured the breathing mask. "All right, let's go meet our old Terran friend." Mara adjusted her suit. Together, they entered the water slowly, letting the suits adapt to the temperature. The lake was cool and strangely clear, as if something kept the sediments away. Light filtered down in soft beams, guiding them deeper. Elias checked his wrist display. Tunnel entrance should be 10 meters ahead. Mara swam beside him, her voice steady through the comm system. "I see something." A faint outline appeared below a dark circle in the lake bed, surrounded by smooth metal that had survived centuries underwater. The circle opened like a hatch, the inner edges glowing faint blue, as if the machine recognized their approach. "It opened for us," Elias whispered in awe. "Or it was waiting," Mara said quietly. They slipped into the tunnel. The water drained away quickly as the tunnel rose into an air-filled space. The floor shifted under their feet, smooth metal, untouched by time. They removed their breathing masks. The air inside was fresh, warm, and faintly sweet. Mara looked around. "This place is still functioning, after hundreds of years." Elias nodded slowly. Terran technology from the early exploration era was built for deep space survival. But this is beyond even that. They followed the corridor. Soft lights flickered on ahead of them, guiding their path. Every step echoed lightly, making the space feel vast and quiet at the same time. Eventually, they reached a large round door. It stood 3 meters tall, covered in symbols from ancient Terran engineering numbers, warning signs, calibration marks. Elias stepped close. "This is the core chamber." Before he could touch it, the door slid open with a smooth whisper. A gentle blue glow spilled out. Mara's breath caught slightly. "Elias, look." Inside, the chamber was shaped like a sphere, glowing with layers of faint holographic lines. In the center floated a small metallic device, spinning slowly. It was shaped like a cube with soft edges, covered in tiny shifting symbols that changed like living light. "It's a beacon core," Elias said. "The heart of a Terran navigation system." "But why is it here?" Mara asked. "On a colonist world that shouldn't have any old fleet technology." "Maybe it wasn't always a colony world," Elias said quietly. "Maybe the early explorers came here first." They stepped inside. The moment they did, the core reacted. The room brightened, and the holographic lines connected to form a map around them. Stars, hundreds of them, thousands, swirling into an elegant web of routes and paths. Mara reached out in wonder. "These are old Terran exploration routes. Elias, entire star paths we lost centuries ago." Elias turned slowly, taking in the map. "This machine has kept them safe all this time." Mara looked at him. "This could change everything. Travel, trade, discovery, humanity's whole future." Elias nodded. "Yes, if we understand it." Suddenly, a loud voice echoed behind them. "What are you doing here?" Both turned quickly. Governor Hale Vance stood at the doorway, breath heavy, expression sharp with worry and confusion. Behind him stood 2 security officers, their faces tense but not aggressive. Mara swallowed hard. "Hale, why are you here?" "Well?" "9. Ale. Well." Mara swallowed hard. "Hale, why are you here?" "I should be asking you that," the governor said. "Why didn't you report this? Why did you come here alone?" Elias stepped forward calmly. "No." Hale cut him off. "You both hid something from me. Something that could affect the entire colony." Mara lifted her hands slightly. "Hale, we weren't trying to hide it forever. We just needed to understand it first. If we told you too soon, you would have reacted out of fear, not clarity." Hale's jaw tightened, but his eyes showed hurt more than anger. "Fear? Mara, I worry because it's my responsibility to protect this colony. To protect you." Mara stepped closer. "I know. And that's why I was careful. You care too strongly. And sometimes, that makes you jump to danger." Hale's eyes softened slightly. "Then, tell me now. What is this place?" Elias turned toward the holographic map. "This is a Terran beacon facility, a guide for early human explorers. It holds knowledge we thought was lost star routes, safe zones, forgotten stations. It's not a weapon. It's a legacy. Hale looked around with slow disbelief. The blue lights reflected in his eyes, making him look smaller, almost humbled. A legacy, he repeated softly. Before anyone could speak again, the beacon core brightened. Symbols flickered rapidly. Then, the chamber hummed. A soft but powerful vibration filled the air. A voice calm, neutral, artificial, echoed inside the spherical room. Human presence, verified. Trust validation, required. Mara looked at Elias. Trust validation? The holographic map shifted. Lines connected toward the center, forming a glowing circle around them. Human unity protocol engaged, the voice continued. Proceed with representative confirmation. Hale stepped back uneasily. What does that mean? Elias watched the core carefully. It's asking for trust. For humans to show they're not afraid of each other. These old machines used unity checks to confirm cooperation before releasing sensitive data. Mara whispered. So it needs us to stand together. Elias nodded. Exactly. The core brightened again. A soft white light spread outward like a slow ripple. The meaning was clear. Step forward, together. Mara reached out her hand first. Hale hesitated. Elias extended his hand too. Governor, it won't activate unless you show trust. Fear shuts it down. To here. Hale looked at Mara. She gave him a small, warm smile. Tired but honest. Hale, she said gently, trust us. The governor closed his eyes briefly, then placed his hand on theirs. The beacon core responded instantly. Light filled the room, gentle and warm. The holographic map expanded, revealing even deeper routes, networks of human achievement, lost to time. Unity confirmed. The voice said. Terran beacon reactivation complete. The room glowed. The machine had accepted them. And in that moment, humanity reclaimed a forgotten part of its past through trust, cooperation, and courage. The beacon core glowed brighter than ever before, filling the entire spherical chamber with waves of soft blue light. Elias Rourke, Doctor, Mara Vance, and Governor Hale Vance stood together, watching the ancient Terran technology awaken after centuries of silence. The air felt warm, almost alive, like the machine was breathing with them. For a moment, no one spoke. They simply watched as the holographic star map expanded into a grand, shimmering network of paths, stretching far beyond the colony's known space. Stars, stations, outposts, entire human-made routes hidden for generations, all glowing around them. Mara let out a slow breath. It's beautiful. Elias nodded. And important. This is the greatest discovery humanity has had in a long time. I seventh. Hale stepped closer, still overwhelmed. The blue light reflected in his eyes, making him look strangely young. My whole life, I thought our colony was a small part of the universe, just a distant place, forgotten by everyone. He shook his head slowly. But this shows we're part of something much bigger. The core floated calmly, turning with a soft hum. Then the neutral voice returned. Beacon reactivation complete. Access to ancient Terran data now available. Instructions ready. Mara exchanged a quick glance with Elias. Instructions for what? The holographic map shifted again. Star routes rearranged themselves, aligning toward a single symbol at the outer edge of the display. A circular icon rotated in place, quiet, but full of meaning. Elias stepped closer. That symbol. It's a Terran archive mark. Hale frowned slightly. Meaning? It means, Elias said slowly, there are more beacon facilities out there. Many more. Hidden on other worlds. Waiting just like this one. Mara's eyes widened. A whole network, waiting for humans to rediscover it. The core pulsed gently. Beacon network, dormant. Reactivation possible. Human cooperation required. Elias felt a warm chill run through him. This wasn't just about one discovery. This was about humanity's past trying to guide its future. We need to decode the full message, Elias said. Hale nodded. Agreed. And this time, you won't investigate in secret. He gave a small smile. Not angry, not sharp, but understanding. You two were right to be careful, but this is bigger than any fear I had. Mara stepped closer to him. We didn't want to hurt you, Hale. We only wanted to avoid panic. Hale sighed, then placed his hand on hers gently. I know. And I'm sorry for letting fear cloud my judgment. Elias smiled softly at both of them. We're here now. Together. That's what matters. 137. The core hummed louder for a moment, as if acknowledging their unity. Then the chamber around them changed, the floor lit up with a wide rectangular panel, glowing faint white. Text appeared, written in old Terran script. Elias quickly translated it. It's a message from the original explorers. A final log. Mara stepped closer. What does it say? Elias read aloud, slowly and clearly. To those who find this beacon, we built this network to guide humanity across the stars. Not through war, not through domination, but through curiosity, cooperation, and courage. If you stand here, it means our legacy has reached you. Continue forward. The universe is vast, but humanity is capable of great things when united. Quote. The words hung in the air like a soft echo. Mara's eyes shone. They left it for us. Hale whispered. For all of us. Elias closed the message panel gently. This is HFY in the purest form. Humans supporting humans. Across time. The core pulsed again, then displayed a new hologram, a blueprint of the beacon facility itself. Detailed structural lines stretched across the air, showing entrances, energy lines, maintenance ports, and most importantly, a large console they had not noticed before. There, Elias said, a central command station. The original operators probably used it. They approached the console. It was built into the wall, hidden behind a smooth panel that slid open when Mara touched it. Inside was a circular control table, covered in symbols and soft lights. Mara studied it carefully. It wants us to make a choice. A choice? Hale asked. Elias nodded. A beacon can be fully awakened, or left in passive mode. If we activate it completely, it will broadcast across deep space. Anyone with Terran receivers or anything capable of detecting advanced signals will know it's here. Hale looked thoughtful. Would that put the colony in danger? Elias considered. Not exactly danger, but attention. Other colonies, research groups, maybe even lost Terran fleets still drifting somewhere. It will call to all of them. Mara touched the console lightly. But if we don't activate it, the pathways stay hidden. The knowledge stays quiet. Hale took a slow breath. We need to think carefully. The core seemed to sense their hesitation. It dimmed a little, waiting patiently, without pressure. Elias admired that even after centuries, the machine respected human choice. He spoke first. I believe we should activate it. Mara nodded slowly. Me too. Hale stared at both of them. Why? Elias pointed to the holographic map. Because humanity is scattered, lost, quiet. We need something to reconnect us. Something to remind all humans that we came from the same place and we can work together again. Mara added softly. This beacon is a gift from our ancestors. If we ignore it, we reject their hope. Hale looked at the floor, deep in thought. Then he raised his eyes again, steady and calm. You're right. he said quietly. We activate it. The decision settled between them, like a peaceful weight. Elias placed his hand on the console. Mara placed hers beside his. Then, hesitating only a moment, Hale placed his hand over theirs. The console glowed bright white. The core's hum rose into a deep, harmonious tone. The holographic star map expanded outward into a massive sphere that filled the entire chamber, even beyond the walls, like the machine was showing them the true reach of the beacon network. Lines of light shot through the map, connecting world to world, star to star. The core spoke again, but this time, the voice carried a warmth that felt almost human. Terran Beacon Network. Initialization complete. Signal transmitting. Humanity. Reconnected. The light grew brighter and brighter until it washed over them entirely. Then it softened, leaving the room calm and glowing. Elias stepped back, breathless. It worked. Mara placed a hand on her chest. We just sent a message to the whole galaxy. 1. Hale exhaled slowly, amazement filling his voice. I never imagined I'd be part of something this big. Order. Creedon. Elias looked at the core. From now on, this colony isn't just a forgotten place. It's the starting point of a new chapter in human exploration. Mara smiled. And a bridge between our past and future. The machine dimmed to a soft, peaceful glow, like a lantern that would never go out again. They left the chamber slowly, walking through the quiet facility with a new sense of purpose. The corridor lights brightened as they passed, almost like the beacon was guiding them back to the surface. When they finally stepped out onto the lakeshore, the sky was bright and clear. The water was calm, but the air felt different, charged with meaning, full of possibility. Hale looked at the lake with a peaceful smile. This world will never be the same. Elias nodded. Humanity will never be the same. Mara gazed at the horizon, eyes shining with hope. Let's get to work. We have a universe to explore. Behind them, deep beneath the water, the beacon sent out its first long-range signal in centuries. A calm, steady pulse, traveling across the stars. Far away, in the dark quiet of space, something ancient and human-made answered back. Humanity was no longer alone, and a new era had begun.